Three people lie dead inside an Odessa, Texas apartment. A mother and her two young children, ages 9 and 13, gunned down in their own home. The killer? A 15-year-old boy who couldn't handle being broken up with. He had originally planned to shoot his ex-girlfriend outside her school. But when he changed his mind and went to her home instead, he made a horrifying decision. If he couldn't have her, he would destroy everything she loved. In less than an hour, 3 innocent lives were gone, and a teenage girl lost her entire family in one of the most cowardly acts of violence Texas had seen in years. This is the story of the Odessa apartment massacre, when teen dating violence turned into family annihilation. On December 9, 2025, at approximately 5:45 p.m., Odessa Police Department received a frantic call about a shooting at the 87th Street Apartments on Hunter Miller Way. When officers arrived at 5:54 p.m., they discovered a scene of absolute horror inside one of the units. 3 victims lay dead from gunshot wounds. 39-year-old Jessica Rodriguez, a hard-working mother who was the backbone of her family, along with her 9-year-old son and her 13-year-old daughter. All 3 had been shot execution-style in their own home. The suspect had fled on foot, but police quickly identified him as a 15-year-old boy, the ex-boyfriend of Rodriguez's eldest daughter, who was also 15 years old. Within 40 minutes, at approximately 6:26 p.m., the teenage suspect was apprehended along Andrews Highway. A handgun believed to be the murder weapon was recovered. At a news conference the following day, Odessa Police Chief Mike Gurka stood before cameras and called the shooting what it truly was: a tragic and cowardly act of violence. But the chief's words couldn't capture the full horror of what had happened.
You know, unfortunately, and we've seen that here in Odessa before, evil does visit us from time to time. And I think that's what happened yesterday. Evil visited us one more time.
This case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about teen dating violence, warning signs that adults miss, and the deadly consequences when young people don't have the emotional tools to handle rejection. The 15-year-old suspect, whose name has not been released due to his juvenile status, was a student at Permian High School in Odessa. He had been in a romantic relationship with Jessica Rodriguez's eldest daughter, also 15 years old. By all accounts, the relationship appeared typical for teenagers: school hallway conversations, text messages, time spent together. But beneath the surface, something unhealthy was developing. When the relationship ended, the boy couldn't accept it. According to research from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, teen dating violence is alarmingly common, with data indicating that among high school students who reported dating, about 1 in 12 experienced physical dating violence, and about 1 in 10 experienced sexual dating violence. What many people don't realize is that 26% of women and 15% of men who were victims of intimate partner violence reported that their first experience was before age 18. Teen relationships can be training grounds for either healthy partnerships or dangerous patterns of control and violence. Warning signs of unhealthy teen relationships include excessive jealousy, controlling behavior, isolation from friends and family, explosive tempers, invasion of privacy, and an inability to accept the end of a relationship. Up to 2 in 3 teens may experience dating violence, whether emotional, physical, or another type. Jessica Rodriguez was a devoted mother working hard to support her family. She was described by her boyfriend, Bobby Rodriguez, as someone working hard for everything for them. She was raising 4 children in the 87th Street Apartments, a new complex that provided housing through the project-based voucher program. Her children, including the 15-year-old daughter who survived, the 13-year-old daughter, and the 9-year-old son who were killed, were her whole world. she likely had no idea that her eldest daughter's ex-boyfriend was harboring deadly intentions. The investigation revealed chilling details about the suspect's plan. According to Police Chief Gurka, the 15-year-old boy had originally intended to shoot his ex-girlfriend outside of her school. He had apparently been planning this act of violence for some time, consumed by anger over their breakup. Think about that for a moment. A teenage boy was so unable to cope with rejection that he planned to murder his ex-girlfriend at school, where dozens of other students could have been caught in the crossfire. But on December 9th, 2025, something changed his plan. Instead of targeting his ex-girlfriend at school, he decided to go to her home at the 87th Street Apartments. Whether this decision was tactical or emotional, we may never fully know. What we do know is that it resulted in a different kind of horror. The suspect entered the Rodriguez apartment sometime before 5:45 p.m. that Tuesday evening. Police have not clarified whether he forcefully entered or if the door was unlocked, but once inside, he was armed with a handgun and had deadly intent. What happened next was an act of pure evil. Rather than confronting his ex-girlfriend, the teenage suspect shot her mother, Jessica Rodriguez. Then, in an act that can only be described as monstrous, he turned the gun on his ex-girlfriend's younger siblings, a 13-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy, children who had nothing to do with the breakup, children who were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. 3 shots, 3 lives ended, a family destroyed. Police Chief Gurka declined to say whether the 15-year-old ex-girlfriend was home during the shooting, though he confirmed she was physically unharmed. "She is okay. She wasn't injured," Gurka said at the press conference. "I'm sure after all this happened to her family, she's not okay. But physically, she was unharmed." Imagine surviving while your entire immediate family is murdered. Imagine living with that for the rest of your life. After executing the Rodriguez family, the suspect fled the apartment on foot, leaving 3 bodies behind and a teenage girl who would have to live with unimaginable trauma. The 911 call came in at 5:45 p.m. on Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. Someone at the 87th Street Apartments had heard gunshots or discovered the bodies. Within minutes, Odessa Police Department officers were racing to the scene. When they entered the apartment at 5:54 p.m., they found all 3 victims had been fatally shot. A mother and her 2 young children were gone, their lives cut short by a teenager's inability to handle rejection. The suspect had fled, but he didn't get far. Odessa police immediately launched a search, and their response was swift and effective. Just 40 minutes after the initial call, at approximately 6:26 p.m., officers located the 15-year-old suspect along Andrews Highway. He was taken into custody without incident. The handgun believed to be the murder weapon was recovered. The investigation into where the gun came from began immediately. This raises critical questions about how a 15-year-old obtained a handgun and why no adult intervened before he could use it to commit murder. The 15-year-old suspect was transported to the Ector County Youth Center, where he was booked on charges of capital murder of multiple persons, a capital felony under Texas law. Because he is a juvenile, Texas law protects his identity unless and until he is certified to stand trial as an adult. That decision rests with prosecutors, who will petition the court if they believe the severity of his crimes warrants adult prosecution. If certified as an adult, his name could be released to the public, and he would face the full weight of the adult criminal justice system. Capital murder in Texas carries the death penalty or life imprisonment without parole for adults. However, because the suspect was 15 at the time of the offense, he cannot be executed under Supreme Court precedent, but he could face life in prison. The investigation continued for more than 12 hours at the crime scene as detectives gathered evidence, interviewed witnesses, and pieced together the timeline of the murders. As of January 2026, the case remains ongoing, with prosecutors preparing to make their decision about adult certification. The impact of this tragedy rippled far beyond the walls of the apartment where Jessica Rodriguez and her children were killed. On Friday, December 12, 2025, hundreds of people gathered for a candlelight vigil to honor the victims. The vigil was organized by the Odessa Housing Finance Corporation, which owns the 87th Street apartments. Community members, friends, family, and neighbors came together, lighting candles and sharing memories of Jessica and her children. Bobby Rodriguez, Jessica's boyfriend, spoke about his grief and his desire for justice. He also used the vigil as an opportunity to raise awareness about the warning signs of teen dating violence. The surviving 15-year-old daughter, who lost her mother and two siblings in one horrific moment, now faces a lifetime of trauma. She may physically be unharmed, but the psychological and emotional wounds will take years, perhaps a lifetime, to heal. She will need extensive counseling and support as she processes the reality that her ex-boyfriend murdered her entire immediate family. As of January 2026, no major updates have been released regarding the case. The suspect remains in custody at the Ector County Youth Center, awaiting the prosecutor's decision on adult certification. The investigation into the origin of the handgun continues. The Odessa apartment massacre stands as one of the most senseless acts of violence in recent Texas history. 3 innocent lives, a hardworking mother and her 2 young children, were taken by a 15-year-old boy who couldn't handle rejection. This case reminds us that teen dating violence is real, it's common, and in the worst cases, it can be deadly. We must do better as parents, educators, and community members to recognize the warning signs, intervene early, and teach young people healthy ways to navigate relationships and handle rejection. What are your thoughts on this case? How can we better educate teens about healthy relationships? What role should parents play in monitoring their children's romantic relationships? Should this 15-year-old be tried as an adult for these murders? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this case affected you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more coverage of important juvenile crime cases, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. And if you or someone you know is experiencing teen dating violence, please reach out for help. You deserve to be safe. Thanks for watching, and remember, love should never hurt.